Welcome to consumergoodsanalytics.com. This is Santiago Restrepo, and today I'm going to be showcasing an advanced visualization technique that's called the Bead Necklace charts, and it's great for product performance and mix analysis. The Bead Necklace charts are great to understand the product performance of a specific product level. In this case, it's SKU. And it shows great information on the mix of the product. So what are the different price points that are selling? It's great to explain what are the top selling SKUs for that specific product category, and also it does a great job in showcasing performance versus the previous period. So how to interpret the chart? If we look at the bottom of the chart, we see the different price ranges. Each bubble represents a different SKU. And here in the left side we see all the different brands. The size of each of the bubbles represent the total selling units, and then the color represents the percentage change versus the previous period. So if it's a bubble that's more towards orange, then its sales are lower, and if it's a bubble which is more towards the blue side, then the percentage change of sales versus the previous period are higher. So let's look at an example here. These specific SKU 138, it's a bigger bubble, so it's towards the higher selling SKUs. It's selling minus 11% versus the previous period, and it's blue because that's more than the average. The overall category is down. It's giving us some information on the price of the SKU, and it's the SKU that's ranked number 22 out of all the 222 SKUs that are covered in this visualization. Now let's look at a few insights that the chart represents. The first one is being able to understand the mix of the products. So for example, brand 3 has a lot of the bubbles, or most of them, towards here, the right side of the axis, towards the higher price point, while brand number 5 has most of the bubbles towards the left side. So that helps us understand that brand number 3 has a lot better mix, while brand number 5 is more like a value brand with a lower mix of products. Most of the circles are bigger, so it's selling a lot more volume than some of the other brands, but it's more a value brand towards the lower end of the line. Let's also look at brand number 1. It's very important to look at places where we can see a lot of big bubbles that are blue, and brand number 1 has some of those in this area between $69 and $75. So brand number 1 is really growing in that specific price point. If it's one of our brands, great, we can keep leveraging that. If it's a brand from one of our competitors, we can take specific actions on it and improve our own brands in those specific price. Another insight here is with brand number 2. We can see that most of the sales are here in the price point between $54 and $59. It's a pretty narrow price range for a brand to play. So if it's one of our brands, we can expand the brand to other price points. We can launch better SKUs here towards the higher end of the market, or we can launch lower end SKUs here towards the lower end of the market. But it's pretty clear that that brand probably needs to play in other spaces if it wants to grow. Now let's look at how to interact with the visualization. Here we have a few sliders and a few filters. The first one is a slider based on units. So let's say we only wanted to look at the SKUs that are more than maybe 10 or 12,000 units. We can move that slider, and that's going to remove all the small SKUs from the specific visualization. Now let's say we only want to look at the SKUs that are performing well, so we can also move the percentage difference versus the previous period to, let's say, minus 17 or 18%, and it's only going to leave the few SKUs that are performing best in the marketplace. Another way we can interact with the visualization is looking at the SKU rank. Let's say we only wanted to look at the top 10 selling SKUs in the industry. then we can click and see which ones appear, and we see that there are a few that are very dark blue, so those ones are performing great, up 24%, up 23%. And this one here is one of the top SKUs in the industry, and that one is orange, so it's down 31%. Hopefully it's not one of our SKUs, but if it is, it seems that we need to take some actions on it. We can also filter based on brands. So if I want to look only at brand number 1, I can just click on brand number 1 and see it more in detail. Or if we just want to look at one of the retailers, this chart actually has SKUs across the whole market, not only from one retailer but from multiple retailers. But if I want to see one retailer in specific, then I can click retailer number 1 and see how that specific retailer is performing. Only brand 3, 1, and 4 perform in that specific retailer. And if we want to look at retailer number 2, we can also look at it. So that's how to interact with the visualization. Now let's look at some other similar visualizations with other cuts of information or other dimensions. This one looks at the data by retailer. So instead of having brand in the left, we have a retailer, and we're able to clearly see that retailer number 1 has a better mix of product, and retailer number 3 has most of the SKUs here in the bottom end of the range. And we can also see where each of them is performing well and where each of them is growing, and the same interactions and filters work with this visualization as well. So most of the top selling SKUs are either with retailer number 2 or retailer number 3. And we can also combine both of the dimensions, brand and retailer, and we can see that brand number 1 is the one that plays in the most retailers, and within that brand number 1, that same mix of retailers also plays out. Retailer number 1 has the better mix of products, limited presence, small bubbles, but better mix of products, and retailer number 3 is more towards the left side of the spectrum, and all the same filters also apply to this type of visualization here. So let's say we wanted to only look at retailer 1, we can see how it performs across each of the different brands. Or if we wanted to look at just brand number 1 across the different retailers, we could also look at it this way. That's all for today. Please go to our website, consumergoodsanalytics.com. There's going to be a lot of great information there that you can take advantage of. There's all the data sets for this visualization. You can actually interact with the visualization yourself, and there's a lot more. And remember, if you are not implementing this type of analytics, your competitors probably are.